This is the Leadership in Insurance podcast, brought to you by FinPro Search Partners.
Insurance companies are businesses and they need to look for the long term and be sustainable.
We went from 0 to 1 and now it's going from 1 to 100.
Insurance as a concept, as a kind of service, is brilliant. The execution is what we're looking at now.
I think the companies that are going to succeed are the ones that are going to understand and master the art of intent.
When we talk about innovation, we lean too heavily to think about technology and we don't think about creating a culture of innovation.
I think innovation is essentially continuous improvement of existing processes and platforms and product.
Right? It's got to be easy. It's got to be seamless.
Hello and welcome to the Emerging Tech series of the Leadership and Insurance podcast. Today I am very lucky to be joined by Mike, who is the VP of Engineering for Overalls. Welcome, Mike. How you doing?
Hi. Good. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
No, thank you. Thank you. We've not met in person, but we've been going back and forth for a few months, and you guys, I know, have been super busy, heads down building and yeah, you've been attending a few events and stuff, but so it's great to finally have this one in and the first one of the new year. So yeah,
Hopefully we can start off great.
I'm sure. Well, before we get into everything, Mike, always a nice place to start. If you could kind of run us through your background, I think going back just over your career is always nice. How you got into tech as a whole, and your journey into insurtech.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't start out thinking I would wind up in technology. I came out of grad school where I got my master's of library science and happened to kind of fall into a programming job. I'd always been sort of doing that in the background. And it kind of sparked a real interest for it out of the gate. And I'd hopped around from consultancies, kind of like what a lot of early stage software engineers do. And then one day, just through Kismet or luck, I applied for a job with a company, Life.io, which was headed up by my partner at Overalls, John Cooper, our CEO, and kind of fell in love with product work from that point on. Life.io itself didn't start out as a insurtech company, but we through providence of like an early stage startup, one of our first big clients was a big insurer. And we just went right into that afterward because it made too much sense. And so that was kind of my first exposure to it there. Yeah, in general, it started as a love of software and grew into now sort of found a niche in insurance technology, I guess.
Nice, because the journey at Life.io, which was a successful one, so that wasn't positioned out and outright as an insurance play, but organically kind of navigated into that. Interesting.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And for the listeners, Overall's the current business you're working as as a VP of engineering. It'd probably be great if you could give us an outline of the mission, the vision, and what the whole purpose of the business is.
Yeah, definitely. Overalls is we offer what we're calling a life concierge service. It is that list of to-do items that you never quite have a chance to get to or is always in the background and kind of tedious. We offer you to kind of check in with people that work with us and say what you need to get accomplished. And hopefully we, at the very least, set you up to accomplish it, if not outright schedule it for you, do it for you. We've seen everything from need help planning a great anniversary for my husband and I. I just used it recently because I've been putting off cleaning my own gutters for forever, and they got me all set up with that. To I think some overuse of the system, but we didn't mind it. I think we wound up planning somebody's entire wedding for them, oddly enough. And at various steps along the way, to latch back into the insurance side of things, the majority of our, not majority, but a large portion of our questions are doing things just like navigating personal benefits, pet insurance, life insurance claims, health insurance claims, all of like any of the varying insurances people offer either through employees or have just picked up independently.
So again, kind of similar to Life.io, built this life concierge, built this platform, and appreciate it's not the majority, but as you say, a large proportion of it again has navigated into being somewhat of an insurtech then?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And then this is also tying into, hopefully where we're going in the future of being able to offer more insurance tie-ins or products that might have helped a person in their journey or anything like that with those
Mm.
questions.
Yeah, because like insurance carriers that provide health and dental and life and other benefits, they have a lot to consider nowadays,
Hmm.
and platforms like yourself could just be a great plug-in and a great way
Yeah.
of there's so many options for people nowadays. It's like, and is that what the life concierge does? It effectively is a almost like a kind of SaaS platform, but also like a bit of a marketplace to a degree, right?
Uh, yes, that is the less built out section of it. We've been focused on the life concierge, but there, I think in time we'll go to have more of those options for people to get into that funnel. Working with a lot of another direction we're taking with it is working with a lot of larger companies that have their own set of benefits offered. A lot of employees don't know what benefits they have available to them, or just because it's a hard world to navigate. And so we're also going in a direction of being able to help flush that out more for those users as questions arise, or even just educationally.
Hmm. Yeah, super interesting. I mean, it seems like it's got the ability to really grow arms and legs. There's
Mhm.
yeah, there's really no kind of telling where it can go. But one thing that I'd kind of obviously commented on earlier with Life.io, and I didn't actually know it wasn't an intentional insurance play because the name as well kind of you know seems like should be an insurance play, Life.io, but
Yeah.
you ultimately inadvertently you've successfully built along with John Cooper an insurtech exited way back in 2013. I think I said to you and John in our initial call, you've been insurtech before it was cool. So, the most kind of is there been any again? I guess my two questions twofold. What has surprised you the most about innovating in the insurance space back then, and now that you've ended up back in to some degree working heavily with insurance carriers and insurance in the insurance space?
Mhm.
Any prominent changes since innovating back then to now, 10 years on?
Yeah, that's a really interesting and uh, I have a lot of anecdotes into that world, but so not to name names, I came from, like I said earlier, a consultancy background when I went into Life.io. So their uh, consultancy was a little different, and then I mean, yes, you want to do things fast, but it gives you a chance to sort of always kind of push on what's new, what's interesting, the new hotness, if you will. And it was a rude awakening jumping to InsurTech in 2013 because there was zero interest in that whatsoever. I went about building like commit number one for that application and was using a cloud deployment tool and all that. And we were sitting in a meeting for a client, and because the guy kept asking, like, "Well, your physical servers are someplace." I'm like, well, it's cloud hosted, and it was just like not even the awareness of what that meant that we didn't maintain a server cabinet somewhere and all of this. Um, and so it was a lot of like hand holding and instruction, even with the partners we were working with. Uh, this go around, I stepped away, let's see, 13, so 6, 7 years probably roughly. Um, there's been more adoption of new technology, new interests. It's almost like that learn, grow, and adapt or die philosophy has started to see its way not just from early startups, but into larger companies. And so points of integration have become easier, just shared vocabulary, which has been worth its weight in gold in order to just communicate with people about, what we're building, what our intention is to do, how we can help you. It's not, it's not if you're making dinner, it's the difference between giving somebody a list of ingredients and expecting to see them versus having to explain what each individual ingredient is and then what you're going to do afterward. So we're at the stage where it feels like we're able to cook at this point, to mix metaphors.
It's funny that you say with regards to the cloud, and he's expecting you to have on-prem services and physical assets store that data. And I had someone on the podcast, and they shared a funny anecdote about some large insurance carrier, and
Mm.
they had the cleaner in. So the cleaner was in mopping, hoovering, and he ended up cutting the power accidentally because he was mopping the floor, and because of that, that was their data center, and
Mhm.
because everything was on prem, it was this company's a they can't name the name, but they're multi-billion, and they could not sell insurance for 3 days because that happened.
Jeez. So,
So
and
yeah.
and it's funny you say that because a part of the reason they were asking those on-prem questions was there's a huge chunk of that questionnaire that was just about physical security of your location. And I was like, man, at the end of the day, I think this winds up in AWS, so it's in Northern Virginia somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, funny. Well, I mean, yeah, I think for me, what I don't want to ask next is because I do kind of hate, oh, I don't hate it, but sometimes like in banking or and insurance as well, insurance is broken or financial services is broken. So I'd probably change my question. Overall, as I kind of touched on, carriers they have a lot to consider. The benefit space in America is going through a seismic shift. There's
Mhm.
a, there's complications on the benefit side. There's complications on, insurers are struggling with underlying growth and inflation. Across a number of lines of business. But so I wouldn't not to say that what's broken, but what do you think in terms of offering of employee benefits in the US for you? Like, given that you've now built this platform and you must be seeing a lot of trends and gaps, like where do you feel the service offering has to improve, and why do you think it is still quite in a desperate position at the moment?
So to phrase
If
that,
that's a fair question.
I think it is. I hope I'm going to answer correctly. I'll kind of speak a little bit through the lens of our own experience at Overalls because I think when we started out, we were intending to be more of an insurance, employee benefits insurance information place, and also an insurance marketplace. Like,
Mm,
here's an explanation of your benefits. Given your life situation, here are some other products that would could be useful to you. Um, and the life concierge concept was almost a fringe benefit of our offering. And we found almost immediately with that first wave of users that navigating the information we were trying to gain and present was itself the harder task, and people were asking questions to figure that out, be it about how their benefits were structured or what would benefit them. And I think that does speak to where we are in the States, at least, about a level of complexity of being able to get the coverage you need, understand why you need it. Um, it's just to flip it on its head, it's a user unfriendly experience at this point.
mm,
Even getting to we have an FSA and my kids are in daycare, so it made
yeah.
sense to be able to pay for that tax free, but to do it, to understand how to enroll, to understand how to get reimbursed. Uh, I don't say I needed a master's degree for it, but it helped. Like it was a hard experience. And so I think at its core, I don't know the business side of it well. I'm a technologist by trade and by preference.
Sure.
But speaking through the experience side of it, it's a lot of iffy tools, a lot of poorly arranged websites, a lot of hidden trapdoors, and if we can do anything to shine light on it, I think that is the rearrangement that regains some user trust and willingness to use, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, even as I've been looking at the business for the past few months leading up to the podcast, and going touching on what you're saying there, is it? Do you think it's also a lack of creativity from those entering the market? Because you can you can you can put a glossy application on top, you can create a better website or whatever it may be over pre-existing benefits options. But when I look at
Mm,
what overalls are doing, like as you said at the beginning of the call, I think somehow we ended up, arranging someone's wedding. But that's the kind of stuff that it's thinking outside of the box. Like it's yes, technically is it a benefit? No, but it ties into the overall platform. And it's like, so there's really no end to what the life concierge can sort, but really inherently built within it, it is a benefits and an insurance platform, but you're just doing more with it. So again, that kind of lack of creativity, maybe in being too rigid in what we can offer, maybe there's a bit of a catalyst in there as to why maybe there's a lack of innovation.
That's an interesting point. I hadn't thought of it like that, but I think I think that's spot on. Um, there is, make the joke earlier about 2013, I was being asked where my cloud servers were. Like, there is a lack of willingness, I think, to move out of the lane you've locked into,
Mm.
especially as you become a bigger and bigger company. And it's somebody, I can't remember who said this now, but it's always stuck with me. It's like uh, companies and tech companies specifically can grow till they reach a size that not just that they're not just managing technical debt, but they're managing organizational debt all of the
Mm.
time. And it's, I've been in this spot for so long, and this is how we do it. This is how I think about it. And once you're spending more of that time managing that debt, it allows someone to come up behind you because they're not managing debt. They're just moving as fast as they can to try to get to, I mean, hopefully not where you are, but at least to where you are in terms of business and respectability or innovate
Mm.
even.
Mm.
So,
Yeah, interesting. And the other thing that kind of jumped out at me was what was behind the technology, because the element of personalization to it,
mm,
and again, there's really no end to what it can sort. Because I think that's probably another thing what separates you guys in this space from what I can see, is that you're there's no end to the creativity and what this life concierge can do, but also, what do people want now in life? Why are people loving AI so much? Why are people loving things like API so much in the last few years? Because it's all driven towards your personal behavior. It's all driven towards you. So, again, going back to your platform, I was just really interested in what the technology was behind it, behind the life concierge. Is it AI, or is it, what's the kind of at the heart of it?
oh, well, at the heart of it right now, I say right now, and hopefully for forever, is people. There is some flavors of data collection where we make sure the request is routed to an appropriate person. Some life concierges have a better background in insurance or in pet care or whatever. Um, so there is some making sure that that's getting directed to the appropriate place, but it is a person that is navigating and helping with you. And we'll do things to improve the information that our specialist, our life concierge, gets in advance, especially if it's things that we've had to help with before, especially in certain regions. We get most of our requests headquartered in the Northeast. A lot of our requests are coming from Northeast companies, Northeast users. Um, and so you're developing like a framework of known service providers or known things that in other insurance policies that have been answered before. Um, but I mean, it sounds a little simplistic, but uh, it's hard at this stage to replicate the friendliness someone feels with a human experience on the other side.
Mm,
And we can improve that more with things like AI
mhm,
to have both sides of the equation be better prepared
mm.
and more informative. But people like talking to people too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there was some study from one of the big three, McKinsey and Co. I can't quite remember, but
Mhm.
and it was, studies showing that like 70% on, hundreds of thousands of people would still, even though how good the bots and the AI is, they would still absolutely rather deal with a human being. And
Mhm.
when excuse the French, when shit hits the fan and when things get really tough, and for maybe like onboarding, for signing up to things, yeah, sure, bots, AI, but yeah, it was interesting that even in this age of where we're going with it, that people still really want that human connection most of the journey, and
Yeah,
insurance. So yeah.
it borrows a little bit from my background again in graduate school. as an aspiring librarian, we did a whole thing on human information seeking behavior. And it is just that, like we experience the stress of a need, and oftentimes a bot or even written instructions and documentation can induce more stress or inspire other needs. Whereas the conversation with a person, it's like you're able to get immediate feedback back and forth on that.
Mm.
Even to hear someone else say, I don't know, that is confusing, is at least reassuring to us. And so it feels, I don't know if that will ever pivot. I felt like at the same time I was getting that degree, I was being told the librarians would go away and we'd never use paper books again. They seem to be doing all right still. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've never got personally get into the Kindle or anything like that. I always buy
Mm,
physical books. I love going to a library. Like
yeah.
actually, just I'll spend like an hour or two just so yeah. The the thing that was can't remember what I was going to say there, but the thing I was wondering as well in terms of like challenges with with the journey you guys have been on, like you and John. I mean, is it just you and John? How big is the company at the moment?
Oh, no,
You
definitely
know,
not. John, CEO. We have a wonderful COO, Allison, wonderful Chief Product Officer, Emily, another
that's right.
engineer
Yeah,
working with me. Um, I mean, it is still a smaller team as you do at the stage. I think our biggest department, I'm not sure what the right word is the life concierge team. To handle the requests as we come in, and that seems to grow with every new opportunity. So.
Hmm. And what's been the most challenging thing for you as a whole so far? Has it been the high levels of regulation? Like, is it been innovating constantly, having to evolve the product? Like, what's been the most kind of challenging thing so far? I know it's only been a couple of years, but if that, but yeah, just kind of keen to get a bit of an insight there.
Yeah, I mean, tongue in cheek, the most challenging thing is facilitating and succeeding at rapid growth. Like that's always like it's always a conversation of scalability there. But right now we're sort of at this point where we've found this product market fit, and we're really happy with the direction, and we're thrilled, honestly, with the direction everything is going in that. But it is maintaining what has made it a success, that exchange between the user and the life concierge, and being providing satisfactory, if not exceptional answers, while continuing to add more, both in terms of services offered and internally uh, enhance efficiency improvements. How
Mm,
can we uh, better get the concierge information about the requests they're getting from the user? What are the questions? A question of what questions do we ask? A question of that insertion point for AI, like how are we able to better streamline those answers they're giving through that use, like if it's a chat GPT service or what have you.
mhm,
Um, and also continuing, because it's so human centric, our people on one end, their people on the other end. Um, what is the most intuitive way for them to use this? Because people do sometimes still prefer to just send an email or send a text message in, and how do we facilitate that exchange? So there's a
mm,
barrier, reducing the barriers to use. Um, I mean, regulatorily, as you're speaking, insurers, especially like security, is always a huge issue, and that's kind of been our biggest thing. Like, it's very difficult for a smaller company to go through things like SOC 2 compliance. It just
mhm.
requires a lot of very heavy-handed procedure. Um, but in terms of like being directly subject to those, that's something we've been able to avoid to this point. Not SOC 2, but insurance
Mhm.
regulatory practices.
Yeah, yeah. I was going to say how embedded, how hard are the regulations for you guys? Because it seems like you're maybe just far enough away to avoid the steep, heavy
Mhm.
regulation. It's interesting how people centric it is. I wasn't quite aware of that element. I mean, is it? And it's just the US. It's available in.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe I should start using it. The amount of bots that I speak to and they can't understand my Scottish accent. So it'd be nice to speak to a human being.
I think at an individual, I mean, there's nothing to stop an individual user from signing up. I don't know if the responses would be as tailored to you in the UK.
And you kind of touched on a few buzzwords of 2023. You get that right.
Mm.
Um, what generally is it? Is it is it as a technologist? You're very obviously very abreast of a lot of things, and again, it doesn't have to be within the space that we're operating in. But I'm always kind of interested to get a feel from what generally is exciting you in terms of last year, as I say, it was AI, and look, it will continue to be AI this year. There's no
Yeah.
doubt. The rate that it's evolving, but is there any other things that maybe you or maybe that other most people aren't seeing that you're quite excited about in terms of technologies or in terms of innovation in your space?
Yeah, there's a few things out there. I mean, there are the things that I wish I had the ability to do more with, and they're, I think, outside of my skill set, outside of my area of expertise, but I am always impressed by the advances made in both green technologies, renewable, as we consume more data for more, or consume more energy for more computing power, for more data and the like. Um, Making that sustainable is going to be huge. And I'm fascinated by those advancements. Same goes for uh, kind of where we're going to head with quantum computing, but I don't see a world where those are necessarily immediately accessible to, feet on the ground at this point. Um, I do think, I mean, this is very risky business hypothesizing anything for the future of technology, but I think there's going to be a use for like edge technology concepts. So, and I think we're already seeing some of that because data pipelines have become so important. So instead of just sending gobs and gobs and gobs of raw data to the cloud and hoping for all that processing to occur,
Mm,
how much upfront processing can we do from the source, be it from handheld devices or I don't know. I just had to buy a new washer and dryer, and I'm shocked to learn they're Wi-Fi enabled. I don't know what that's going to do for me, but it is kind of like uh, I think we're going to start seeing attempts to limit's the wrong word, but refine the data before it gets to where we need to do the heavy duty work to it. Um, because I don't know if we're there yet, but I think we're hitting this upper boundary of the amount of latency we're comfortable with, like sending stuff back and forth all of the time. So how much can we do so it's as much of a ready state when it gets to whoever cloud service is performing manipulations on it and back.
mm.
And so I think I hope we'll start to see improvements in that arena. Um, Again,
Interesting.
predicting the future is
That's
I
good
don't know, it's
business.
worth the paper it's printed on, assuming it's cheap paper. So
Yeah, yeah. And what would just kind of jumping on that, like, what would be the benefit of that? What would be the benefit of that if that was if we went that way, more producing up front? Like, what would be the ultimate benefit for it? Just would it make your life easier, or is it what better for the? I don't know. Like, let's just try to.
yeah, the kind of what sparked my interest in it, let me phrase it that way,
Mm,
is kind of what NASA was doing with some deep space telescopes. They're doing a lot of processing the image there at the satellite because they have such a long way to, it's an expensive process to send
mm,
them back, both in terms of energy, in terms of computing power. And so what could our improvements be? What could our applications be in a more more conductive to business atmosphere than across deep space? Um, my hope would be reducing the amount reducing the amount of energy needed in cloud computing to while still improving its output. So uh, you're kind of looking to just improve. Let me back that off a little bit. I keep saying the word improve. You're kind of looking to increase efficiency of saying like, I'm getting more signal from the device for what I need. And with more signal, I can produce more meaningful information. As you kind of go
right.
through that, like, as you kind of go through the like data to information to knowledge funnel. So maybe, just maybe, we're able to create more meaningful services that convert meaningful data into better information, net improving the knowledge of to inform the tools we're making and using.
Yeah, got it.
But it is very abstract and philosophical at this point.
Of
Maybe that's why it's
course.
interesting to me.
Yeah, I love a hypothesis. I mean, I mean, it's obviously it's realistic to happen, but as you say, it's predicting the future of technology is always it's
Yeah.
not
Well,
always safe.
hopefully we'll get to a point. I mean, with generative AI models, for example, like, I mean, those are trained on these huge data sets across the internet. If they were able to receive more meaningful, more targeted information for specialization from handheld devices, other things that are, maybe I'll justify the use of Wi-Fi for my new laundry machines. If they're sending meaningful information to a specific AI model that can respond to feedback based on what they're sending, I think maybe it's improved. Maybe it's a better experience to me later on where I have an AI bot that's like, hey, your water line's clogged again or something, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting. A Wi-Fi for your laundromat. Yeah. We digress, but I hope you don't mind. Off camera, we were talking about how I would introduce in terms of the CTO or VP of engineering, and as we rightfully done, introduce you as the VP of engineering. Like that job is for me has always been one. I mean, as an executive search consultant, I that's probably where I play the most in terms of finding people for startups. And I find it a fascinating role because it's one that has many facets to it. You're managing up to, well, could be managing up to the CTO, but effectively it's CEO. You're managing across, you're managing down into the engineering team. So horizontally, vertically, there's that element of you're zoomed out, but you're also very much zoomed in to the engineering team. Like,
Mhm.
how's why do you kind of favor the VP of engineering more so than the CTO position? If that's a fair question.
Yeah, no, it's a very fair question. When I so when I came to overalls, it was actually John that reached out and said, we're getting this thing off the ground. We really enjoyed working with you. It was a great experience working with you at Life.io. Would you like to come on board? And yeah, I was pretty excited to. I kind of love this stage of a company.
Mm.
But that was one of my caveats is I didn't necessarily want to be in that C level role. Um, and there's a lot of personal reasons behind that, but the biggest one I took away from Life.io was I like being more hands-on. I like being more involved in the day-to-day of writing software, of over not overseeing necessarily, but just like having an ability to contribute and participate with the people that are also doing a lot of the heavier work. Um, and you lose that very quickly as a company grows in a CTO role. At least that has been my experience. Everybody's mileage may vary.
Yeah,
And so I kind of became, if you look at my career trajectory after leaving Life.io, I did just bounce around as a senior engineer for a while because I really wanted to
yeah,
get back to that. Um, and it's it's what I'm happiest doing. It's what I'm most fulfilled, and it's easier for me, I think, to lead at least, vertically, when I'm able to experience the same pain points that the people I'm managing are. Um, you know, one of the things I firmly believe in is work-life balance. We were joking off camera about the rigors of having children. And I work from home, and if my kids are home and I am not done working, I'm done working. And so you can't add more hours to the day, and I can't expect people to work more than what I'm willing to dive into.
yeah,
But what you can do is try to find ways to reduce drag. The things that are sucking up people's time and keeping them from doing the things they probably want to do. And it's really hard to identify those when you're just hearing about them. But if you're experiencing them and you're doing that, uh, it's easier to kind of say like, well, this is where we obviously need to improve our capabilities. Um, and so I think I lost sight of that at Life.io. That was kind of like my CTO journey then, and now I'm trying to be second go around more protective of that than ever. Not to
Mm.
say I'm shirking business responsibilities or all that, but I
No, no,
also
no.
I also like the way we're arranged is my boss isn't necessarily the CEO, it's Emily Johnson, our Chief Product Officer. And I think that's kind of led to a good relationship between product and technology. I know that's
Yeah.
one that can be fraught, but this way it's kind of ensures like a more of a collaborative responsibility for us. So,
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I was talking about it with a call. It was it's product director role, and we're talking about the structure of the company and how the a CPO left, and then now coming to that business as a CTPO, and I think that's always something that we're seeing happening more and more now, and I think it's a great thing actually because it brings product engineering and tech under the one roof as opposed
mhm.
to what can be sometimes, data over here, engineering here, product over there. You guys aren't doing what and it becomes quite fraught.
Yeah.
But obviously that relationship and the VP is, as you kind of said, not shirking business responsibilities, but that wasn't why I asked the question. It's more because it was just to because people that listen to this are, yes, insurance executives and insurance led people, but with the tech series we've got this new audience coming in, some are engineers, and I think it's sometimes important to know that you don't always have to keep moving up and to be the
Mhm.
CTO. You can stay in your lane, and it doesn't mean some people want to be close to the code, some people want to experience the pain points, some don't, some want to stop coding as quickly as possible and cut costs and and be more strategic, etc. But I just thought it was interesting that you said that because, as I say, I wasn't sure based on I know everyone doesn't update their LinkedIn profiles, but John, Mike, that kind of brings us to the end of it. I guess as a finishing note, what does the future hold for you guys in 2024? What's on the agenda?
Oh, I can go a tough question to end on. I know my priorities, what I'd love to achieve
Yeah.
as just the technology side, but I'll say largely just for the company itself is continued growth, continue to provide the best service we can to our users. Hopefully getting just more and more interesting and fascinating requests from people. Yeah, I want to see the build out of individuals coming on to just help with their day to day, but also the build out of people navigating their complex benefits and insurance benefit circumstances. Um,
Mm.
so I think
No,
our goal, what's on the agenda is growth. Knock on wood.
that's the word of the year for overall
Hmm.
growth. Well, good luck with it. It's been a blast having you on. Thank you for the time. I know you're super busy over there, but yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you for having me, Gavin. I really appreciate it.